What's up, everybody? It's your boy Chaos. And no, this is not Take It to the Table, but I am the host of Take It to the Table. But for now, I am today the special host of Wrestling Republic's Daily, the one-stop place for news, reviews, and everything else. I'm not as good as Ben, but but yeah, we are here live, and it is Saturday. We are going to be obviously talking about a certain show that actually happened last night, which is of course SmackDown, and obviously all the goings on in there. But yeah, before we get into that, we have to obviously introduce the following guests of the show. Starting off by none other is the head of reviews, Coby. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. I decided to pop in and say, yeah, I guess I can do Saturday with an interesting new different host than the normal one of the other two. But of course, great to be here. What a SmackDown it was last night. But of course, we're going to get into that. And I'll let you continue the introductions, my friend.
Yes, definitely. Welcome to the show. And of course, the alongside Coby is of the man with pretty much the greatest CM Punk Roman Reigns story. That's if you haven't checked the article, be sure to check it out on WrestlingRepublic.com. It's none other than Anthony. How you doing today, sir?
Thank you very much, Chaos. I think I'm gonna have to. I think I'm gonna have to do a rock one now. But obviously, I normally don't do Saturdays, but if I'm going to do a Saturday, this is obviously the most envious seat to be in on this show, considering the SmackDown that was last night. Almost as envious as the tickets to this very event that will likely be why The Rock's back in the first place. But I'm very much looking forward to talking about this.
110%. It's going to be a jam-packed episode, and of course, last but not least, one of the regular guests on the daily, and also you can catch him on the Wrestling Off the Air. That's on after the NXT. None other than Shad. How you doing today, Shad?
Was good, Chaos, Anthony, Coby. I'm working overtime this week, man. The wrestler, the daily's gonna see me every day, today, tomorrow, but definitely excited to talk about SmackDown. So let's get into it.
110%. Yes. So as I said at the beginning of the show, we are going to be talking about SmackDown, but let's just get the important part out of the way, shall we? So obviously it started off typical introduction for SmackDown, and out of nowhere Pat McAfee making a surprise appearance. Cole completely marking out as he usually does for Pat McAfee. Corey was obviously sick to his stomach, all that good stuff. And he was obviously saying that he was just an hour away after just covering the college football. So he just had to obviously come down. Obviously bigging up Denver and Colorado and everything else like that. And then out comes Austin Theory, pretty much wearing similar attire as Pat McAfee, with a tank top and everything else. And he was just obviously, this isn't SmackDown, this is Austin Theory live, all that stuff, giving the typical Austin Theory spiel. And then Pat McAfee just pretty much just said, this is Boulder country, and you know what that means. And then of course we just out of nowhere we heard, "If you smell," and the place, pretty much one of the biggest ovations, biggest pops of the year, 110%. The Rock makes his return after 4 years. If you don't count the Eric Rowan match, pretty much like over a decade now. Pretty much, we've seen him in the ring. But yeah, he came, returned, and had a little back and forth with Austin Theory. Austin Theory was throwing the catchphrases back to The Rock, saying it doesn't matter what you say, all that stuff. And yeah, The Rock did incredible crowd work. One half was saying, well, you are, and the other was saying, you're a beep. And yeah, he just completely just took control of the whole crowd. And obviously he ended with a traditional spine buster, people's elbow, and Pat McAfee pretty much did his own version, way better than Snoop Dogg's in my opinion. And yeah, it was had a little backstage segment as well with John Cena as well. They had a little reunion. They embraced all that stuff. So yeah, this was an awesome start to SmackDown. We even I even got some of the statistics. Coby actually gave this to me. He basically said all the official WWE socials from clips uploaded of The Rock, especially with the Rock's return and obviously his interaction with John Cena. Last night, I actually viewed an estimated 93.6 million times within 24 hours and counting. So yeah, it has obviously been a huge hit for them, and yeah, it was a nice welcoming surprise on top of an awesome show. But obviously, I got to give it to the other guys what they think of it. So Coby, what's your thoughts on the situation? What did you like about the segment? Was it good?
I mean, that's the thing. It's like I grew up, and I mean, yeah, that was in the middle of the Rock and Cena build when I started to watch, and then the Rock had his stuff with CM Punk as well, and then he had that weird squash match with Rowan, and then I'm pretty sure he appeared like once more originally when Fox SmackDown was debuting on Fox in 2019. But at the end of the day, this is one of those like not a lot of people knew about it. Of course, he did the Pat McAfee show earlier on Friday, dropping the bombshell that we talked about on the daily of him basically saying, "Yeah, it was for SoFi Stadium. It was going to be me versus the Rock, or not me versus the Rock, me versus Roman for the titles. The Rock versus the Rock. Yeah, what a match. But at the end of the day, he basically said it came down to us saying, well, we couldn't get the special details of the storyline about doing a new story, doing something new for the viewers and the universe, blah, blah, stuff like that. And then he shows up here. He also showed up in College Game Day this morning, and keep in mind that that's because he was just in the area, I assume. At the end of the day, this is just what you want. I understand nostalgia is not always going to hit different every day, but the fact of the matter is it wasn't announced. It wasn't rumored. It was kind of hinted that, well, I mean, he was in the area with Pat, and they could potentially go to SmackDown if they felt like it, and they did. This was as organic as his Atlanta appearance when he came to say, "I'm the host of WrestleMania 27." The pop was great. McAfee does great. He always got credit for on commentary, but even then, him standing there, his emotions, and him overreacting to what The Rock is saying and what Theory's trying to say, it's great. And I do want to say, like, we spent a lot of the last, say, 6-ish months saying Theory's a generic superstar, the creative guy, he's jacked, but he's nothing really special. This was the first time in a long time that Austin Theory actually looked good in a promo. He was hitting good. He was hitting good with Pat McAfee. He was hitting good with The Rock on the mic. Obviously, good for him in this case. He did what needed to be done, and that's get your heat because you're in the ring with one of the most beloved superstars ever, and he does deserve his flowers in this case.
110%, 110%. It was, and like you said, you nailed it on the head right there. Is that it was organic, even though he was in the area. No one really put two and two together. I think, like, obviously, naturally, you wouldn't because he hasn't really alluded to anything wrestling related in such a long time. So, and it was to the point where you kind of feel like wrestling for him is in the rare view kind of thing. But obviously when he revealed at Pat McAfee's show that it was definitely going to be Rock and Reigns at WrestleMania. I'm kind of glad that didn't really happen because obviously the story was already laid out there for Cody. And I'm glad that didn't really happen. But yeah, we'll talk about what the future plans we would like to see. Is I kind of feel bad for Cody as well because right now it looks like it's being thrown to the wayside again for Mania for 40. But we'll talk about it another time. But of course, Anthony, what's your thoughts on the segment? Do you like it? Any gripes with it?
Honestly, there is no other performer like The Rock. I'm a longtime fan. I was there at The Rock's rise. I've
Mm.
seen him. To me, there is no bigger star to ever come out of wrestling like The Rock. Globally, like everyone knows The Rock. You know, he can go by Dwayne Johnson with the movies, but every wrestling fan will not call him that. They will always call him The Rock. In a lot of ways, I feel like it's the conversation that in the scene of the movie Coming to America, when they're in the barbershop and all the old guys are arguing whether or not they call Muhammad Ali Cassius Clay or Muhammad Ali.
Mm.
I feel like it very much for wrestling fans, no one calls him Dwayne. He's always The Rock. There is nobody that can control a crowd like The Rock. You knew even during that segment, this is going long, but no one cared. It's The
Mhm.
Rock. Matches were cut short. Again, you're never going to get anybody more entertaining than him. And I said in my CM Punk piece, with this being the first WrestleMania under the Endeavor banner, they're going to go big. You don't go bigger than The Rock. As much as I wanted to see Cody finish the story at Mania, I'm not going to lie. The bigger match is obviously Rock and Roman in Philly, which Rock is very popular here. So, as he is everywhere, but especially in Philly, from what I've experienced every time I've been to an arena with The Rock on the card, I think Cody does eventually get to finish the story. Obviously, it's probably not going to be at WrestleMania 40 now. The only positive that has come out of so far the Hollywood writer strike is the fact that we're probably getting The Rock now. I don't know whether or not we would 100% get The Rock this soon if there's not a Hollywood strike going on right now. I think it might have been more towards closer to the Rumble or maybe even possibly even closer to Mania before we knew for certain that we were getting Rock. I think that's a huge factor in this. And if you get Rock, Punk's out there, the rumors are there. If you had Punk and Austin night 1 and The Rock and Roman night 2, do you get possibly bigger than that for a Mania? Is there any card that you could possibly give that we have a bigger 1-2 punch for main events? Theory had a great moment. Considering the fact the man's been in the ring with Austin, McMahon, and The Rock, and he's only 26, that's a hell of an accomplishment. If his career ended today, it's a hell of an accomplishment because no one else could say that at 26 right now. Back then, yeah, but now, nobody.
No, yeah, you hit it right on the head. Especially if they do the 1-2 punch with Punk and Austin and Rock and Reigns. I mean, that has to be an instant sellout. I know they sold a bunch of tickets for me already, but if you actually add those, they're like, oh, it's gonna be absolute. Yeah, I will somehow find a way to be there just for that.
And there's one thing left to point out. The last time WrestleMania was in Philly, which was WrestleMania 15, it was headlined by Rock versus Austin. 25 years later, headlined again. I mean, granted, it probably wouldn't be Rock versus Austin, but still, if that's your headline, it's an ironic move to do 25 years later.
Yeah, that's poetry in motion right there. I like that, definitely. What about you, Shad? What is your thoughts on the segment? Do you enjoy it? Is it a full house, or what's your gripes?
Did I enjoy it, man? I'm in my living room just yelling like I was 10 years old again, bro. Like it's just incredible to see. And like, I mean, the world knows him as Dwayne Johnson, obviously is the Rock, Dwayne the Rock Johnson, but they know him as, Maui or whatever roles he's done in acting. But like wrestling fans, you just have that love in your heart for what The Rock has done for professional wrestling, what he's done in the WWE landscape. And you saw it last night. Like, you'll never hear a pop like that in just a random, like, you don't get moments like that on just random SmackDowns. And salute to Colorado. They having a very lit weekend. They got Coach Prime and them boys playing tonight. They was on College Game Day with The Rock. The Rock coming to SmackDown. It was just super electric, no pun intended. And it was just like a simple segment. I mean, nothing really progressed to anything. You didn't get a lot of Easter eggs to think about Roman versus Rock, besides maybe the segment of Jimmy kind of peeping out after him and John Cena were talking, which I thought was interesting. And maybe that kind of gives you the first little seed to possibly get a Rock and Roman match at Mania. But I mean, you just got to cherish moments like this, especially as a live fan in attendance and just us watching it on TV. It's monumental, man. And like you guys said, salute to Austin Theory. This guy he plays his role well to what he needs to do. You know, he gets these opportunities to, you know, get the stunner on Stone Cold, get the people's elbow by the Rock. Like, even though you're the punching bag, the crash test dummy, that's you grow up to 1.5 stuff like that as a kid. So salute to him on that, man. It was a great moment. And I mean the numbers don't lie, man. They're showing it is a great moment.
Yeah, definitely. And you do wonder about with Theory. It's like obviously before. It's weird how before this, he was no one was really rating him as much. Obviously, he got buried by Cena, and obviously he got stunned by Austin, and all. It was just all put in these prevalent places. But now for some reason, I feel like because of this segment with The Rock, everyone's just kind of like see him as a new light because, like you say, he's getting all these opportunities. And when you think about it, at that age, even though he's obviously on the receiving end of it, but like you said, you kind of wish when you was younger to be rock bottom by The Rock, to get the people's up, get stunned by Steve Austin. So you know when you think about it, he is actually living the dream as a wrestler and as a fan of wrestling. So no, a huge shout out to him. And yeah, like I do think they were actually planting some seeds, you know, regarding even that segment with Heyman and Solo. He was obviously saying like who gave that order, but we never knew who that was, and that could obviously plant the seeds for, you know, regarding The Rock and Reigns. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, it was great all around. Moving next up, obviously we go to the matches after the hype, you know, went down a bit. It was AJ Styles versus Finn Balor. I don't know why I'm saying that, but it was continuation, you know, obviously, you know, they're former friends, now obviously rivals regarding the Judgment Day and the OC. AJ Styles came out without the OC. I think it was revealed that Gallows is suffering from an injury. But yeah, he was out on his lonesome, and yeah, it was a match that happened. It was fine for what it was. It was a standard TV match, so to speak. But you know, nothing to take away from them. It was fine for what it was. I'm not gonna lie, it's to the point where I don't remember who won. But but yeah, it was fine for what it was. But yeah, you know, before I put myself in trouble, Anthony, what's your thoughts of this match against Styles and Balor?
I agree with you. It was a
And
TV
who won,
match.
Anthony?
Honest to God, I don't even remember either. To be perfectly
You hear
honest
me?
with you, it was not
So
that.
it's Finn
It was
Balor,
not a great
Finn Balor.
match. It was not. You know, a few years ago we got them against one another on a pay-per-view, and that was great. I mean, there's
Yeah.
two former leaders of the Bullet Club. You know, the match was what it was. I don't think it was nothing that, you know, I don't think anything could have followed The Rock's return and lit the world on fire as far as like the next match. I mean, realistically, that was as high as you're getting. So I think anything that followed it would not have done. It wouldn't have been that interesting after that high. You know, it was what it was. I agree with you, Chaos. It happened. That's about it. It's the best I can say, unfortunately.
No, yeah, it was what it was. It was just a standard TV match. I kind of feel bad for AJ because he's kind of like in the lull. Obviously, he's in a like, you know, a prominent storyline, but yeah, it's not like they're really, you know, doing much with him regarding that. But yeah, it was what it was. Who won? Sorry, Coby, who won?
Finn Balor won because Jimmy Uso's distraction.
That was it. There
Oh,
you go.
yeah. And then he tried to recruit him to the Judgment Day thing.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. There you go. So yeah,
Gotcha.
that happened. It was what it was. Moving swiftly on, shall we? So yeah. Obviously, next up was, of course, The Miz versus L.A. Knight. Yeah. And this is obviously, in my personal opinion, hopefully the combination of their rivalry. Obviously, Miz keeps on thinking that LA Knight is vanilla. He's just a flash in the pan, 50 minutes of fame, trying to be the Miz when he's not, all that kind of stuff. They had their match at Payback, which LA Knight won. Obviously, John Cena was a special guest referee. Miz complained, saying that you obviously had the endorsement of Cena and all that stuff. That's what helped you win. So that's why they ran it back on this random episode of SmackDown. Obviously, it was pretty much a random episode of SmackDown. Obviously, with the Rock thing kind of changed things. But yeah, ultimately, LA Knight has won. Very decent match. It was, if anything, it was just as good as their first one, I'd say. They have good chemistry. It was LA Knight hella over as ever. It seems to be getting more over every week. But yeah, he ultimately won with the BFT, the blunt force trauma. And then he went onto the mic and said, since the day I walked in, LA Knight is all about having gold. And he said, whether it's Rey Mysterio, Gunther, Seth Rollins, even Roman Reigns, everyone's gonna be, at the end, everyone's gonna be talking about LA Knight. And so yeah, it looks like the next pit stop is gold, and it's about damn time. I wanted to be in a serious title program. Obviously he's face, so he probably won't go for the mid-card titles. Yeah, definitely go for either Seth or Roman, in my opinion. But yeah, enough of that. What about you, Coby? What's your thoughts on the match, and who do you think he should be challenging for the title?
Like you said, the match was fine. It didn't necessarily have a big story like, oh, there's a impartial referee and you have Cena who's going to do the spots of, wait, you can't do that, and you're not going to push John Cena around, but you can you can pull the ref and do the heelish tactics with a non-wrestler referee. I thought it was fine. It was good for what it needed to be. I'm glad they're not going 50-50 and giving us another match between them. I do like the fact that they're signaling that LA Knight needs to move on from The Miz and is willing to move on to bigger things. Like you said, he named off a lot the big four champions right now. He ain't going for a tag title, and he ain't going to go for any of the women's titles. He named the 2 mid card and the 2 world champions. At the end of the day, I like the fun part where he said, like, he said, I'm in the top 2, and I ain't the top. I ain't the
Yeah.
second one, and you did his signature. Yeah, he's still good on the mic. I mean, LA Knight deserves the flowers every single time. But that's the thing, is this begs the question: where do you go? Unless you're gonna give us LA Knight and Lashley, if Lashley squashes Ray, like there's not really a direction that I can kind of like. Okay, we can put him in the direction. Last week we did have the tease of LA Knight kind of meeting Paul Heyman on camera, and Heyman saying, "Oh, I'm a big fan," and he did the same thing. He gave him a yeah on comment in the backstage area, and Heyman threatened him. So my only question is yes, we know we're probably only going to get Roman once, maybe twice more this year, in kind of a program or just a big match. I don't know if that's LA Knight though. But who else is there? I know a lot of people want to see Gunther dethrone Gable, or Gable dethrone Gunther, and I'd be all for that. And I don't know if LA Knight dethroning Gunther is the move either. So this is a very muddy situation because we don't really have somewhere where we can just push LA Knight into. If we're using the analogy of a puzzle piece, he doesn't fit in many places right now. And that's kind of the interesting part about this. Of course, I believe that they can give him a spot, but I don't know where. And that's part of the interesting thing.
Yeah, no, I hear that. It is a very interesting situation. It's I agree. I don't think going after Gunther is the right thing, because obviously it's all up with the thing with Gunther's role, or his role as champion. It's all about athleticism. It's someone has to be on par with him. Like sure, LA Knight is athletic, but he's not Gable athletic. Gable is the one that's been the closest of taking Gunther to his to
being
the
able
high
to
level.
out wrestle Gunther.
Yeah, you have to out wrestle him. LA Knight's not that kind of person, so yeah, he's not the right guy. Considering his momentum right now, and because he's pretty much the most over person, right now. I think he's internally he's been said he's number one babyface. He should go for Reigns, even though we know he probably ain't gonna win, but capitalize on that momentum that he has, because that's you ain't gonna get that forever. So I'd say, yeah, probably I don't know when you're gonna do it. Hopefully it's not on a random episode of SmackDown. But yeah, I think. Do you think that he should be at least go for Roman Reigns? Do you think?
I mean, I think that's the piece that we're putting him into. Like, I'm not putting him in a feud with Seth Rollins if it's not
No.
like a WrestleMania. But I'm not going to give him to Ray unless they quickly get a new champion for the U.S. title. And it's the same thing. I don't see LA Knight as the one to out wrestle Gunther. It has to be Roman. And I think, obviously, we can assume that the next place that he does wrestle is going to be the next Saudi Arabia event. And we know how LA Knight was massively overlapped in at the end of May this year.
Yeah.
They're going to want LA Knight in the top spot. I think it is going to be Roman Reigns and Gunther. Roman Reigns and LA Knight at that show.
Are we drunk today? What is wrong with you today?
Hey,
malfunctioning.
Honestly, if they're going to give anybody a title, if you put him against Roman, you know he's going to lose. So realistically, I would have Escobar, LWO, turn on Ray, take the U.S. title.
Yeah,
that makes logical sense for him. I'm sticking up for Ray. Ray's out. I'm going for the U.S. title. Because to me, that's a smart play. I think Gable and Gunther make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Roman's probably going to be busy with somebody. I don't know if the smart move is to have him lose out. Because you think of major programs he's been involved with, LA Knight. Okay, he was involved with the Bray thing. Technically lost that. Okay, he beat The Miz.
Yeah.
Okay, you beat The Miz.
It's a placeholder.
Yeah. So if you're going to give him a belt, give him at least a mid-tier one, give him the U.S. title. I think he could have a lot of fun with that. He's the type that could do an open challenge every week. He's the type that I think could really make a run with that. And I think that would be the smart play, personally.
Okay, so don't throw him into the deep end. You say that, it's best to make him start with mid-tier, then possibly go for the main one. Okay.
If you're going to have him throw him in for the main one, have it be in a situation where he can actually win. Right now, he ain't winning.
Fair enough. Okay, then fair enough. So moving swiftly on then. So obviously that match happened. And of course the next match was surprisingly the main event. The show just, that's how you know how good it was. It just flew by. I didn't realize we was already to the main event, but it ultimately was Bayley versus Asuka. And obviously Bayley's, there's obviously some tension within Damage Control. She was kind of ticked off that Io Sky was training for her women's championship match against Asuka next week. But obviously then Dakota gave it a question. It's just like, are you actually going to be ready for Asuka? Because you're having you're having your hands full with Shotzi, your mind's on her. Are you going to be ready? So ultimately she wasn't. So yeah, obviously there was some in some shenanigans. Shotzi came in, interfered, chased her around the ring, and then Asuka obviously got hold of her. I believe she tapped Bayley out, I believe, and then obviously
she got her with a crucifix pin.
That was a crucifix pin. My bad. Sorry. It's very rare she uses that. Sorry. So yeah, the match was okay for what it was. I'm happy for that it was the main event. Sure. Women's wrestling has been on top for this week. You had Becky against Tiffany Stratton on NXT, and then Rhea and Raquel on Raw. So yeah, good week for women's wrestling as the main event. And obviously Jade Cargill versus Chris Statlander. But it was fine for what it was. there's not really much I can really say. Obviously, it was progressing. Obviously, with Asuka going leading into next week against Io Sky. But Shad, what's your thoughts on this match? Do you think Bayley was used correctly and everything? And what's your thoughts going into next week?
I mean, I think the positive within the match is that it's progressing two different storylines. Um, and we're kind of continuing getting the ball rolling on that. The match itself was okay. It wasn't nothing to like die for. You didn't miss too much. It had decent amount of time. I think they went about like almost 10 minutes. And it's always great to see Oscar and Bailey in the ring. So it was a solid TV match. Um, I mean, it's got me excited for next week though. I've envisioned and been so excited for the match between Oscar and Io Sky, and we're finally getting it. So that within itself just has me ecstatic. But the Bailey and Shotzi storyline is really weird.
Yeah,
I don't know. I like Shotzi a lot, but her gimmick is so it just comes off so silly and goofy, man. Like I don't know what it is. She's acting like a crazy little like toddler or something like that, man. Like or like a mixed with a mom. I don't know. It's just weird. It doesn't come natural to me. And I hate seeing Bailey lose so much, man. I
yeah,
think Bailey is so good. She's eaten so many L's these last few months. And I feel what my hope is after, and I'm going to assume that Io is going to retain versus Asuka. I think the money match is Io versus Bailey. Like the breakup between Damage Control, they've been teasing it for a little while now. I think we have to lead to something that's going to get to an Io versus Bailey title match and a feud, and Bailey just taking L upon L. Like she losing to Shotzi. Like no disrespect to Shotzi, but like if you taking L's to Shotzi, that's like a pretty lower tier wrestler on the women's division on SmackDown. Like there's not as much credibility for me to want to see it besides the storyline within itself. So I would like to see Bailey get some wins in the middle of it. Um, Obviously we knew she wasn't going to beat Oscar because Oscar's going in to the title match next week. So that's fine, but it was solid. And like you said, man, it's been a great week for women's wrestling on the main event circuit. Tuesday night, we had a banger. Monday night was a very solid match with a very, surprising return. Yeah, the WWE's doing a thing on that. And yeah, hopefully they continue it. They better let that main event next weekend though. Next week though too. Io, and y'all better let Io and Oscar cook. Like
yeah.
they better not give us no little like 7 minute match, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. It was pretty much, it was fine for what it was. I do feel like Bailey is now the female Finn Balor right now, because we obviously when
Good call on that. Yeah.
she was, what is it, 3-33, and now he's obviously on a winning streak, and now she's been losing a long time. So, but what about you, Coby? What's your thoughts on the match? Do you agree?
I mean, match aside, I was questioning for the last since SummerSlam and since she returned to television. I was very much questioning the decision to bring back Dakota Kai to television. And I almost wonder if that is the fact that they want to do this split so Io Sky has a mouthpiece.
Yeah.
Is Io Sky is it gonna be Io Sky with Dakota Kai, with Dakota being the one to speak on behalf of Io, while Bailey is presumably the heel in the feud? That's my only that's like my thing. Like, okay, maybe I got this now and I understand why they're doing this.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing I wanted to kind of give off into the air.
No, I was, that's actually in my head as well.
That would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think they're waiting on Dakota Kai to see what's going on and just postponing it, because like WWE.
She's not going to wrestle for the year. She's not. Again? She already confirmed on her own Twitch stream. She's done. She's not going to wrestle this year. She's going to be out till the next year. But so I think it's a point where she's a mouthpiece.
WWE could, in theory, Chaos, and this is just a thought, they could bring in a manager for her. And it may be an old school manager, but it would make a lot of sense. What if they brought in the old WCW manager, Sonny Ono, to be her mouthpiece?
Oh, yeah, maybe. Yeah, if they still if they want to do the work, then yeah, why not? That makes sense. Something's got to give, because like this whole tension has been it's been brewing for in WWE's terms quite a long time. They usually don't like let these kind of things, build up for so long. So I think that they're waiting on something. But yeah, the WCW manager would be a very good shout on that. But yeah, it's who we got? Anyone in the comments? Jacob Robertson. Hey, how you doing? He says hi, and hi back to you as well. Welcome to the show. And of course, finally moving on, finalizing everything is of course John Cena was a special guest on the Grayson Waller effect. Obviously, prior to this, they had a little interaction at Money in the Bank, where Cena also made his own version of a surprise appearance and teased the possibility of WrestleMania being in London. And Grayson Waller was like, "Nah, we'd rather have it in Australia." That is a really bad Australian accent. I'm sorry if I offended anyone there. But yeah, it was. So Cena was obviously being invited. Grayson was also saying, you sure you was a host at Payback, but you need a lot of work, kid. I'm like, dude, you're calling John Cena kid? Like, really? All right, cool. And then if you under my wing, you can go a long way, all that good stuff. And all you need is a Grayson Waller rub, all that stuff. John Cena was about to obviously rebuttal, and then out comes Jimmy Uso. They actually spelled his name right this time on the banner. And it's saying, no one wants to see Cena, everyone wants to see me, all that stuff. And then Cena was about to rebuttal, and then Solo Sikoa came out. And then just got into Cena's face. It was about to like turn on Jimmy Uso, about to give him the Samoan spike, and then instead he super kicked John Cena. Jimmy Uso was like, "Yeah, that's my dog. Yeah, high five." Solo just completely just aired him. And then out comes AJ Styles while they were beating down on John Cena and try to obviously level it up. And yeah, John Cena and AJ Styles was standing tall at the end of it, and Cena was about to give Jimmy the AA, but then Heyman told Solo, save Jimmy, pulled him out, and then yeah, that was it. It was standing tall, and that was it. Roll credits. So yeah, it was a fun segment. It was very weird seeing Cena not get a chance to say anything. It really made him feel like a default character. It's really weird, but I liked it. It was a nice little change for once. But yeah, what about? Let me just go through it to Anthony. What's your thoughts on this segment? Did you enjoy it? Do you have any gripes?
Yeah, I really like Grayson Waller just as a whole. I think he's got a ton of potential, and he's definitely he's great on the mic. Him getting the rub with Cena was a smart play. I do like, because it's different. I remember, years ago they used to do this stuff. It's really much gang warfare in WWE these days. There's so many different factions. There's different, and I like it because they're coming out of nowhere. They're building up to something, whether it's War Games, whether it's a Survivor Series elimination match. It's building to something because there's too many moving parts in here with different groups, whether it's Lashley's group, whether it's, which I still don't believe it has a name.
No, it's just Almighty on the Titantron. Almighty.
I don't know if it's Hurt Business 2.0 or as Clark said to me last week, he's like, "Oh, it's the Wall Street Profits or Wall Street Profits." You have what's left of the Bloodline. You have Judgment Day. You have the OC. You have so many groups that are apparently intermingling now that I think it's going to be interesting. Cena, I'd like to see him wrestle again, but at the same point, it better be a decent version of John Cena, because what we saw at Mania makes me go, you know what? Don't do it again. I don't know if it was a rush job where he wasn't really ready and they really needed him to participate in the match. I don't know, but I remember we were all there going, All right, that wasn't right. It wasn't just me. That was not what we were expecting. Uh, I would love to see him redeem himself, put Waller over. I think that's the smart play.
Yeah, I agree with the Mania match. I think it just pretty much proved that he just didn't care for Theory at the time. Even when I watched the match back, and you literally saw him call the match from beginning to end. It's like they just went in going with no plan, just wing it. He just wanted to go in, get out. That's it, done. And yeah, he said it in later interviews. So I agree. God knows what's going to happen. We don't even know if Survivor Series is going to be called War Games. I think right now it's just still Survivor Series, so we don't know what's going on. It looks like they haven't really decided yet. And when is Survivor Series? Survivor Series is going to be November 25th. Wow. Okay.
In Chicago. So
yeah.
Jeez.
Okay. Cool. Fair enough.
Someone says they're available in 2 months, so I'm just saying. But realistically, if they don't do War Games, they could do a traditional Survivor Series elimination tag match, which I think Ben pointed out that like online, the visual of the arena doesn't appear that the setup was for 2 rings, so maybe they're not doing War Games. But the Survivor Series elimination is always available to them. That is their traditional match.
And it's about time they mixed it up instead of doing brand warfare. God, it was such a breath of fresh air that they didn't do it last year. So keep that going. No more that brand warfare nonsense anymore. Shad, what's your thoughts on the Grayson Waller effect? Do you think it worked? What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I thought it was a great segment overall. I mean, I said it yesterday on Twitter, and I'll say it again here. I think Grayson Waller is like one of their best heels on SmackDown, and my personal opinion, enjoy Grayson Waller as a character and also as an in-ring wrestler more than people enjoy LA Knight or Austin Theory. And that might be a hot take, but I'm gonna die on that hill. I think the dude's really good. I think he's got a great amount of charisma, and I think he stood tall in the segment with Cena. And there's good, like, he just has good chemistry with Cena to that point. But overall with the segment, I said it yesterday on a preview. I think we're leading to some sort of match between John Cena and Jimmy Uso. I predicted that we could probably do some sort of like weekly gauntlet of open challenges, but I don't think that's going to be the case, knowing the wear and tear on Cena's body and age. But I think that's the match that we're building into, guy. I think that's like a money type of match for I believe it's the Saudi show that they're going to have, where Jimmy is obviously put in a position on a higher regards on SmackDown, and I think he can benefit a lot in the feud with Cena, and he give an opportunity where I would assume Cena will win the match, especially overseas, where it could build to a good feud. And I think everyone benefited in the segment. I mean, him just in the ring and being in the segment with Waller benefits Waller. Him in the ring with Solo made Solo look incredible. People are reminiscing on Twitter of it, like if we get a Solo and Cena match, it could be like a Umaga and Cena match from when we had in the past. So I think a lot of positive happened to it. And I think this is like a very, very positive and beneficial way you can use Cena on this little sprint that he's returning for.
Yeah. No, you nailed it on the head. This look like they're gonna do something with Cena and Jimmy Uso. Obviously they could try and stretch it to Fastlane, but I don't know if does that fall in the 7 weeks. I know they didn't really use him last week, so I don't know if that makes sense. If that
they
helps.
said this was like the week one of
Fastlane's in 3 weeks.
This is week one.
This is week 1 of the 7 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I guess you could set it up for Fastlane too if you want to.
Yeah, because otherwise it was just going to be on a random episode of SmackDown.
You could build it for that. I don't know the pay-per-views off the top of my head.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, in any pay-per-view or some sort of match, I mean, I think that's the one that you build to. So yeah.
Yeah. October 7th, Fastlane. Yeah. That's what I thought. Yeah, that's the next one. And then and it will be Crown Jewel afterwards in November. But yeah, what about you, Coby? What's your thoughts on the segment? Did you enjoy it?
I thought it was fine. do have a criticism of this. Felt like Grayson Waller was back in what he was doing when he was injured, and he was playing a very supportive role as the host of the thing. Because this wasn't about this was the Grayson Waller effect, but this wasn't about how Grayson Waller was developing. It was about what Sikoa and Cena and Jimmy Uso and now AJ Styles. Are they building up to a tag match? Maybe. I think that's a very possibility. Cena and Styles versus Sikoa and Jimmy Uso at Fastlane. I think that's the move. But I do agree with the statement that keep in mind when he returned before Payback on a WWE exclusive, he continued to say, or not continued, but I'll continue to say it. He straight up said, "I'm here to compete." And it very much seemed like, yeah, maybe WrestleMania was rushed. Maybe he wasn't ready for WrestleMania. Obviously, theory said it went the way they planned it. But I think Cena does want to redeem himself, and Cena is ready to have at least one televised match instead of his lone match at the Superstar Spectacle last week. So yeah.
No, I agree. Fastlane for the tag team match. I don't know. I feel like that match should probably be a throwaway. They might even do that next week. That could be the co-main to the Asuka and Io Sky match. Because I do agree. I think that should be the main event. That's what Shad said. So I don't know. It's it needs to come. I'm fine. I'm fine with a good promo from Cena, but right now it looks like is spinning the wheel right now in terms of just the promos. Yeah, you want to see him in a match and make the most of him somewhat, during these 7 weeks that he's going to be here, because the strike ain't going to last long. No, I'm joking, but yeah, no, we'll see how it goes. Anthony, did you say your point already?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, cool. I just couldn't remember. My brain's frazzled, but yeah. So yeah, on that point right there, we've come to the end of the show. Thank you very much, Coby. Thank you very much, Anthony. Thank you very much, Shad, for joining us on the daily. Make sure everyone that's watching, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Make sure you go and check out Wrestling Off the Air as well. As well as Soul Separately, that's on Wrestling Republic, and as well check out my show, Take It to the Table, of course. And we got a vlog on as well, so be sure to check that out and give it a like. Other than that, this has been Wrestling Republic's daily show. I have been your host, Chaos. Until next time, guys, peace.